So far I've talked a lot about melody and accompaniment, but of course there's quite a lot of music written for the organ which is duos or trios, where you have 2 or 3 lines which are equal partners in the texture. When you're playing a trio, you'll have to find 3 different sounds, one for the right hand, one for the left hand, and one for the pedal, that all combine and balance with one another. This can be very difficult to find because you may simply be limited by the number of stops you have. You may only have 1 pedal stop, in which case you'll need to couple it to one of your manuals. That limits the number of combinations you have then as possible manual stops. On an organ like this, where we have 3 manuals and pedal, we're very lucky because we have lots and lots of combinations that we can use for a trio texture. Giving an example like this piece by Parry, the chorale prelude on Rockingham, which is the hymn tune most associated with When I Survey the Wondrous Cross. Even though this piece is not called trio, if you look through it, it has a very evident trio texture. And in fact, there's quite a lot going on the right hand. Even though the right hand is the accompaniment, the melody, the hymn tune melody, is in the left hand, and then there is an accompaniment, quite an active accompaniment, in the pedal. So in order to play this piece effectively, we need to make sure that the melody, the hymn tune melody, which is in the left hand, comes through the texture, and that the pedal and right hand accompaniments balance with it. So after a process of elimination and trying out lots of different options, I've come up with this registration. For the right hand, the accompaniment, I'm going to use 8 and 4-foot flute on the swell, which has the added feature of being able to be made loud or soft according to the swell pedal, which can help balance the accompaniment with the melody. The melody I'm going to put as a solo stop, the clarinet on the choir. So let's now listen to just the right hand and the left hand together and see if they balance. The right hand on the swell and the left hand on the choir. So I think you can hear very clearly the melody in the left hand, the hymn tune, and if you know the hymn tune, it'll be instantly recognizable. Now we need to find something, the pedal, that's going to balance with that. Well, perhaps the obvious option is to use the pedal stops, the Bourdon 16 8-foot principle. But the risk with that is that it will be so heavy and so loud that it will obscure the sound of the melody. Let's see what it sounds like. I'm just going to play the left hand on the pedal. Doesn't sound too bad from the console, but if you sit down the church in the position that the congregation will hear it from, you'll find that actually the pedal is very, very loud and it's totally overwhelming the melody. So we need something a bit subtler on the pedal. It's very important that you're aware of how the sounds of the organ balance away from where you're sitting. Very often, certain sounds are louder or quieter the further you go away from the organ, and what sounds perfectly good and perfectly balanced to you at the console may sound totally muddled and confused to your listener halfway down the church. So if you have a talented friend who can play the piece for you on your suggested registrations, and you can sit and listen, fantastic. If not, you'll have to use your sound recorder and listen back. You may be unpleasantly surprised with how poorly the registrations balance, particularly ones that you thought worked perfectly well when you were sitting at the console. So we need something quieter on the pedal, but still something that's going to balance, with the right hand and the left hand, and that won't be too diffuse and indistinct, because the pedal line is quite interesting. There's a lot of movement in it. So we want to hear it, although we still want to hear the melody more than the pedal line. So I'm going to use the one manual we haven't used yet, which is the grate. I'm going to put on grate to pedal, and I'm just going to put on the gamba. See if that's a little bit subtler, a little bit softer, and better balanced. So now I'm going to play the right hand, the left hand, and the pedal all together. That sounds very well balanced to me, although to double check, I would put my recorder halfway down the church, record a few seconds of it, and listen to see if it still sounds balanced then.